My name is Don DeRay, and I am the host for this afternoon in this room. I'm from Consensus Technologies. I just have a brief 30-second quick intro of what Consensus is, what we do. We're located up in Cranberry Township. We provide hardware, software, service, and support to customers of all sizes. We specialize in identity and access management. So if anybody has done identity and access management, I might have provisioned your account if you went to University of Pittsburgh. Did a big project there back in the early 2000s. That's how I got started. But we're actually, I'm actually just going to introduce the presenter. I want to make sure he has enough time. So without any further ado, Francois from Matthews International.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So I'll start with maybe a few slides on what Matthews is. How many people know Matthews International in Pittsburgh? Okay. Let's see if you know what we're doing today versus the last 170 years. Don't have the clicker. Oh, thank you. So Matthews is really comprised of three segments. Our traditional segment is our memorization business. You can call that deaf care. We're the largest provider of bronze memorials, caskets, granite products, mausoleum, if you have something that you like to build for yourself, for your afterlife. We also have our SGK brand solution, which is an end-to-end branding development solution. So we do brand development all the way to brand deployment, packaging. And then we have our industrial segment, which has an environmental component as well as an automation component. So just going quickly through these, if I can. Sorry. So one thing, just a quick history. We've grown significantly by acquisition. And the reason I was asking if people knew about Matthews is 5 years ago, we were around $500 million revenues, with our memorization being the primary source of revenues and mostly domestic. And we closed our financial year in October this year. Don't have the final number, but around $1.7 billion, with our branding business being the number one division. That has been done through internal growth, but also, as you can see, a lot of acquisitions. 11,000 employees, 100 locations worldwide. Just a kind of general numbers. So the three divisions, we can go next one. Oops. I missed one slide. Oh, okay. I guess one slide disappeared. So our brand solution is, as I said, our global brand development, activation, deployment. So basically what we do is we work with companies and create brands. So we have a pure marketing and creative work. So the advertising for like a company like Korean Airlines or Air France, pure advertising. But more importantly, we deploy the brand by taking this brand image and applying it to support that takes the brand to market. So packaging is a big component of this. As you can see, and the list is very long, we do work for the top 100 global CPG companies in the world, taking their brand onto packages and transforming their brand also into digital assets, being able to publish the same brand content from a packaging into an Amazon web store or virtual store in Korea or things like this. Memorization, basically all the products that goes into the deaf care business. As I said, that's our traditional products line. Environmental solution is actually an outshoot of the memorization business. It's the manufacturing and distribution of incinerators. Obviously going to funeral homes, but also pet cremation, but really developing in the last few years into hospitals for toxic waste or biological waste, municipalities. So manufacturing business. And then our marking and automation division basically deals with automation either in a manufacturing environment. So for example, if anybody has a bottle of water or something, there's a little tab on it that says expiration date or a lot number. So that's a high-speed printing process. So we manufacture and distribute both the printing equipment and the ink. And then we have an automation business that works into trying to automate as much as possible, especially distribution warehouses, especially e-commerce warehouses, with a couple of products like light picking, enhanced reality picking, smart sorting, and so on and so forth. So really what I want to talk about today is, somebody mentioned this morning that on the data side, on the big data side, one of the first things you hear, especially in a traditional business like ours, is I don't have big data, and there's no opportunity with it. And my role at Matthews, I'm fairly new with the company, I've been there for 9 months now, is to lead our commercial technology division. And the goal there is to basically gather assets that have been developed, technology assets that have been developed by the business unit, as well as looking at market opportunities and enhancing our product and service delivery with software solutions. And a big part of it is analytics to our customers and leveraging the amount of data that we have in each of our segments to create more value for our customers. And so what I want to talk about is a couple of stories or a couple of use cases, as we talked about earlier. Some of them are early stage, some of them are actually product that we sell. And to show that even across a very disparate environment like Matthews, with business units that really have nothing to do with each other, and some of them are fairly traditional, there are opportunities to leverage data that are either inside the enterprise or outside of the enterprise, and stitch them together to provide value to the customer base. So starting with the memorization business, just a couple of numbers. So the deaf care business in the United States is a $20 billion business per year. Roughly 2.5 million people die in the US every year. Our financial analysts are always very interested to know what our projections are for the flu, for example. So if you read our 10K or listen to our analyst call, sometimes it's a little surrealistic when you have a Morgan Stanley analyst saying, so what do you think about the avian flu? But you get used to it. So memorization is a very data-driven business. The problem and the challenge is that the data is usually very manual. So you have a different set of data, deaf care record, next of kin records. Don't know if anybody knows that, but every time somebody gets buried, the plot is actually a real estate transaction. So we're a licensed real estate in 50 states in the US in order to facilitate those transactions. Geographic, geolocalization information, finding a grave inside of cemetery, especially if you have a large cemetery, or do you do that? And there's also things like trust, life insurance, conversations, especially pre-buy your funerals. There's the deaf care business is actually a regulated business by the FTC. So there are some things that your provider has to do, is to take that money and put it in a trust. And then that money needs to stay there for as long as you're alive. So that could be 20, 30, 35 years. So the amount of data is pretty wide. It's very disparate across multiple providers. And it's very difficult to stitch together. However, when you do that, there is a lot of value creation for either our customers or for people. So one story I want to share with you is the Department of Veteran Affairs. It's actually one of our largest customers. They manage 130 plus cemeteries and burial grounds in the United States. And they oversee around 3 million grave sites. And their challenge has been to make sure that families of fallen soldiers or veterans can find their loved one, making sure that those cemeteries are taken care properly, that headstones, if they're broken, they're being repaired and things like this. And there are significant challenge with that volume of data, and especially non-digitized data. So in 2015, they started a project to build an application that will take all that data and put it together in order to facilitate maintenance information for the families. And then they put all that together. And what they do is they basically go around and photograph grave sites, geolocalize the grave sites, add next of kin records. And out of that, what they get is an internal app that goes to their maintenance department, so that if the grave site has been disturbed, if a headstone is broken or need to be re-engraved, their internal management can do this. But also on the family side, they actually provide an app. If you go to Arlington National, you can download an app, and you can actually find loved ones or relatives by looking by name. And then there's a geolocalization that allows you to basically get a Google Map access to to the tomb or the burial ground. The other thing that it does with them is allow them to reduce significantly the number of mistakes. They had done some statistics that I had here where as of 2010, before this project, they have over hundreds of unmarked graves where they didn't know who was buried there, even though it was a veteran. They had over 1,000 headstones that were wrong. So somebody was buried, but the headstone was not the correct one. With this investment, they were able to reduce that to almost zero now. So while they're cleaning up a lot of historical data, any new burial coming through the Veteran Affair goes through this app, and everyone is tagged and managed properly. So that's one example. The other example that is kind of linked in the same industry is your digital footprint. So a lot of people, when somebody dies, there's trying to do a memorial. People go and hunt for old pictures and documents and try to build this. Now, moving forward with social media, Facebook, digital pictures, 90% of that data is actually digital. And so there's a lot of activities, and I was very surprised when I came into the business that somebody coming out of CMU or MIT as a young grad said, I'm going to do a startup, and I'm going to do a startup around dead people. But that's actually the fact. There are dozens of different startups that are managing different aspects of the digital part of death, and not the death itself, but the memory management. One of them here is in Pittsburgh, a company that was founded 5 years ago called Forever.com. I don't know if anybody has heard from them. Doubling in size every year. And their principles is for one-time fee, they'll keep all your digital assets into one place. They have feeds into your different social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can upload pictures. You can upload also wills and other documents that are fairly important. And they guarantee it for life, which kind of an interesting concept. What does that mean exactly? But then from there, you can create a memorial, an online memorial and memories of your loved one, basically. Facebook doing a little bit of that as well, but I haven't really explored that. So there's really a lot of activities around that, and again, one would think that the memorization business or the death care business is pretty traditional, and there's not a lot of opportunity for large data sets or social interactions, but there is. Now, talking about our branding business, a little different there. When I learned, I think it was this morning, I think it was Highmark that has something like 600 terabytes of data in their Hadoop or something like that. At any time, our work in progress with our customers represents 7 petabytes of data that we have to manage. So at any time, any steps of the process of doing a digital brand or deploying the digital brand, we have 7 petabytes of data in our environment. A lot of that, roughly half of it, is just the digital files, image, high resolution image, and things like this that we have to develop for this. The other half is actually metadata that is attached to that image in order to do a packaging, in order to publish that image to Amazon so that we can actually sell it on Amazon. On average, if we take a food product, every image or every packaging for a food product has around 400 attributes that are embedded in the image at any times. Nutritional information, packaging information, recycling information if it's a can, translation in all the languages where that product is going to be sold, and so on and so forth. So one thing that we've been working on now for a couple of years and really going to market with is this is all internal data. This is something that we do and we use in order to take that image and produce at the end of the process a digital file that we can send to a printer or a bottler or a packager to put on a certain package and for them to do it right. What we've been doing, as I say, in the last 2 years, developing is basically how do we leverage all that data and help our customers in the marketplace to publish that data and get feedback on that data. So we are one of the first companies that has developed what is called smart packaging. So basically, if you you buy something, there's a QR code, there's an RFID tag, there's a regular barcode, you scan it with your phone, and then you get to a website. You may get coupon, you may get more nutritional information. If a product is gluten-free, you'll have the whole description of why the product is gluten-free. So what we're doing there is a couple of advantages. One of them is for the brand owner, real estate on the package is very important. And frankly, with regulation, especially in the food industry, but also, as Mylan was talking earlier, we do a lot of packaging for the pharmaceutical industry. If you would put all your required information on the package, you wouldn't even have space for a logo, because you get a box of aspirin this big, and there's like a Wikipedia article of stuff that you have to put on there. So one thing for our with this smart packaging is to be able to basically publish some of that data on the website, gathering customer feedback. We're tying that together back to our brand owners, and also efficiency of packaging. How many people are clicking, what they're thinking about the package, are they going to get the coupon for the next product. So as I have only 5 minutes, I'll move on to one of the next example. The last example is in our automation business, and it's a fairly, if anybody has worked with machines here, there was another presentation talking about Caterpillar not so long ago. Our incinerators are distributed to a wide variety of customers. Some of them are fairly modern and advanced because they're like a large hospital that will get a couple of incinerators for medical waste. Some of them are your funeral home in the back of a very small city somewhere. And so what we are offering is basically a centralized management service. So we have in place an ops center done in Florida, where all our incinerators are actually connected. We have capture sensors on the machine. We offer services where we can actually remote operate the incinerator for them. We have advanced preventive maintenance. We have corrective maintenance. And basically our objective is if something breaks and the customer calls and say, hey, my incinerator doesn't work, the answer is, yes, we know, and the part is in the truck, and the truck is on the way to your office. Again, large amount of data. We have around 40 to 50 captors per incinerators. Each one of them does sampling at from anywhere between 10 milliseconds and half a second. So all that data gets in our facility. We manage that. We use it for customer service, but also we then package it for our engineering department. We can identify trends. We can get a better view on our preventive maintenance cycles, and also we drive sales with it. We can actually forecast the parts business based on the utilization hours that we get out of those incinerators. So to keep a couple of minutes for questions, I just wanted to, again, to present in a very wide environment of different type of businesses, some of the approach we're taking in order to leverage the data that is there, and how we can see value and opportunities for our business to increase their sales or provide better service to our customers. So going back to the point that somebody made this morning, everybody has big data. Everybody has data that they can leverage to get better, even in a death care business, where frankly, when I came in, I didn't think that was possible. Questions? Sorry? Across the US, I would say 100 plus maybe. I think our total install base in the United States is around 2,500. But primarily, historically, with the funeral homes and the pet cremation type of business, I would say environmental and so which is hospital and municipalities or even industrial is I think a late growth. So that's why we don't have as many right now.
Acquiring all those companies, how have you guys overcome the challenges of integrating different systems together?
Brute force. A lot of pain, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears. No, that's a very good point. So one thing we're doing is basically this presentation was a subset of a large. There's a one Matthews concept, and the idea is that as we keep growing, and the plan is to keep doubling the company in size in the next 5 years, so we're not going to stop making those acquisitions. We're building a base layer of infrastructure and systems that allows us to absorb those acquisitions really quickly. So both from a financial system of records, but also from a data analytics standpoint. So we're building scalable environments, and we're building onboarding, kind of standardized onboarding. And we bought 12, 15 companies since the beginning of the year. So, and anywhere from a small pet cremation business that was $2 million to a $150 million business. And you spend as much energy on the $500,000 than the other one. So we're trying to kind of put lanes and say we can acquisition. Your financial system goes here, your data goes here, your HR system goes there, and then just try to build that as a very repetitive environment. Any other questions? Okay. Finishing in time. Thank you.